Yeah, I think so. I think I was on mute here. Or maybe I have to change mine to English. Are you able to listen in Portuguese? Yep. Cool. Okay. So good morning, everyone. With our announcements, in 2 weeks we'll be having our barbecue. Not exactly at the park, but some place like park. So we'll be at the Shriners place, Shriners of Southern Alberta, where we were last year. So it'll be August 9th. So hope to see everyone there. It's such a great place. Thank you, Manuel, for hosting us for the second year. And yeah, hope everyone can make it.
And I spoke with them as well. So we have some horses there. So I told you guys want some riding.
Oh, that's nice.
It is like Laura Arena.
Yeah, there's like playground for the kids, and yeah, it's such a beautiful place. Yeah, it's a super nice place. So if you have any question or want to help or want to be part of it, please contact Ju or Carol. And if you can RSVP, so we can at least do some management of how much we need to buy in terms of food. Yeah, we really appreciate it. Okay, so let's start.
Agora está saindo em inglês de todos nós, só em inglês.
Only in English?
Só está saindo só em inglês e depois em inglês.
Is that something with mine? Let's see here. Where is our technical support? Bruno? I think it's all, maybe it's at mine. I think está saindo tudo em inglês. Aqui eu coloquei com português, sabe? Porque eu coloquei com português. Para ele sair. Essa aí. Ok.
Pode falar, vou trocar, né?
Okay, now, so change the code. I had to do it. So it's a K-A.
Agora está em português.
Now it's working in Portuguese? No, so you have to change to another one. Okay. K-A-E-P-Z. All right, so let's try. Try again. Slowly we'll get the gist of it. Good? Yeah? Great. So, for our text, I'm going to read text 159, with love, from the Living Spring. Whoever loves his brother is in the light, and in him there is no offense. So it's John chapter 2, versicle 10. Those who love their neighbor know, above all, to understand. And those who understand know to free their eyes and ears from the poisonous enticement of offense, in order to help, instead of accusing or deserving. It is necessary to bring the heart to dwell in the light of true fraternity, in order to realize that we are each other's brothers and sisters, children of just one Father. As long as we keep ourselves in the dark phase of being attached solely to ourselves, we imprison ourselves in selfishness and expect others to love us. During this unfortunate time, we only know how to want for ourselves. using others as instruments of our own satisfaction. But if we really do love the brother or sister on our path, the scenery of our life changes because the light of love bathes our vision. Therefore, love, and just as mud can never offend the light, offense can never touch you. You will know that misery is the fruit of ignorance, and thus you will help victims of wrongfulness, finding in them your own brother and sisters in need of support and understanding. You will learn to listen without disgust, even if crime reaches your ears, and you will help your adversary even when you feel offended. Because forgiveness combined with complete forgetfulness for the blows you have received will arise spontaneously in your spirit, just as tolerance is natural for the spring that receives the stone that are cast into it. Love, and you will understand. Understand, and you will serve more and more each day. For you will dwell within the glory of the light, inaccessible to any incursion of the darkness. So let us pray. Let's connect our minds, our thoughts to God, to Jesus, our Master, to the spirituality, to our guardian angels, and all the spirits that are here with us, guiding us and helping us, not only at this time, but every single moment of our life in this journey of our moral evolution at this incarnation. And first, let's be grateful for one more Sunday morning that we are here to instruct ourselves, to help acquire the knowledge so that we can use that in our moral evolution, so we can transform ourselves based on that knowledge. Be grateful for the spiritual team. Be grateful for the second home of love, for this opportunity that we have to enlighten ourselves. And ask that we are guided, that we are helped in all the reflections. And hopefully, every one of us will leave here feeling a little bit better and with a little bit of more knowledge, and hopefully with a little bit of more wisdom to apply in our own lives the way that is true for our own selves, so we can continue this journey of betterment of us. May our meeting, may our talk be blessed and guided by love, justice, and charity. So be it. All right. So today we are going to continue on the journey of the book Thought and Life, book Pensamento e Vida, by the Spirit Emmanuel, psychographed by our dear Chico Xavier. So today we're going to talk about chapter 4 that talks about instruction. So this is the cover of the book in English, Thought and Life, or Portuguese Pensamento e Vida. Just a very quick high level, this book is kind of a guide that Emmanuel provided us, using all the knowledge and everything that is for us to know and to learn before incarnate. He created, with the help of Chico, this kind of apostila, this kind of a guidebook for us. There's about 30 chapters. We started with the first chapter that talks about our mind and how important is our mind. And the mind is the mirror of our life, and the importance of our thought. Then we went to the will, because the will is the tool, is the skill and the resource that can instruct and educate our mind. Then we talked about cooperation, how we're not alone, how we're not alone within our own selves, and how we're not alone within the environment that we're in. And today we're going to talk about instruction. And what is the role of kind of instruct ourselves, and how is the role of us acquiring knowledge in order to progress. And I just forgot one thing. I just grabbed my text here. And Emmanuel starts this part or this text saying, it has already been said that 2 wings will lead the human spirit into the presence of God. One wing is called love, and another wing is called wisdom. So it's not new for those who have been reading a little bit about the Spiritist doctrine that wisdom we can translate it into the intellectual knowledge that we acquired, right? It's all, what do we know about the laws? What we know about what happened with Jesus? What do we know about the Spirit's book? And the other wing is love, or what we can say our moral evolution. And those 2 wings, they need to go hand in hand. But there's an interesting way or reason. Why does Emmanuel call wings? Why do you think he used? And know Emmanuel, how Emmanuel is smarter than us and has a lot of more experience than us. There's a reason why he used the term wings. Any guesses?
Because we'll make us fly.
Yeah.
Because of evolution.
Yeah.
Balance.
What else?
Balance.
Exactly. It's about balance. The wings, you cannot fly with one wing, or one wing cannot like flap more than the other wing. Those 2 wings need to find balance in order to evolve, in order to be balanced, and making sure that we are progressing forward in our moral evolution. It also, it's somewhat well known when you're talking about intellectual development and moral development, which one are we doing better? Which one we are a little bit more advanced? Is that in the wisdom, intellectual, or is that in the moral or love aspect of it? Wisdom, right? We're getting there into the moral aspect of it. We were in a not so good place, and we're making advancements there. But yes, the intellectual one, the wisdom one, is the one that we are a little bit more advanced, and it's lacking a little bit. It's lacking a little bit on the law aspect of it, or the moral part of it. But we have done some progress, and we will continue moving forward in developing that. Because even if we take what Kardec mentions when he talks about the hierarchy of the spirits, or the classes, or how the spirits move from one class to another class, this is the wisdom and the wisdom and love is part of that evolution. We are imperfect spirits. Spoiler alert. I hope maybe someone here is more evolved or a more mature spirit, but most of us incarnated on this earth, we are still imperfect, right? But as we progress into, maybe we'll leave that category of imperfect spirits, and we are going to go more, or we're going to transition to the good spirits. In order to transition to be a better spirit, or to be in that category of good spirits, the moral evolution needs to follow the intellectual one, and needs to, I would say, guide the intellectual one, right? The intellectual one needs to not serve, but be in conjunction to do the good. Use that wisdom to do the good. And the spirits, mention in question when we talk about progress. If you're talking about the classes or spirits, the spirits mention, or Kardec asks, by what signs may one recognize a completed, or let's say a more evolved civilization? And the spirit says, you will recognize it by its moral development. So, especially us, most of us here, living in a developed country, coming from an undeveloped or in development country like from Brazil, we have this, we do have more resources here. I might say, a better quality of life. That is one part of it. But if we take even further, what is a more completed civilization? It's all about our moral evolution. And the spirits continue, you believe yourselves to be very advanced because you have made great discoveries. AI, everything's about AI, everything's about technology. The pace of our evolution, the pace how we are progressing has never been that fast, right? Something that we develop or we discover 2 weeks, it's already obsolete. It's already, there's something new. But the Spirit says here that we made great discoveries and wonderful inventions. And because you are better situation and better cloth than primitives. However, you will only have the right to truly call yourselves civilized when you have finally banished the vices from your society that dishonor it. And when you finally live as brothers and sisters. That's the kind of the crux or the core concept of fraternity. When we can kind of really be brothers and sisters, not by blood, but as a humanity. By practicing Christian charity. Until then, you are really no more than enlightened cultures that have passed through only the first phase of civilization. So there is a progress, right? We're completing one phase of it, but there's more to it. And there's a lot of talks, a lot of us, a lot of conversation that happens in the Spiritist movement about the transition of this planet, right? We are a planet of trials and expiation, and we're going through this transition to be a planet of regeneration. And to become this planet of regeneration, to continue the progress not only for our own selves, but the progress for the entire planet, we need to balance those wings. It's a little bit unbalanced on the wisdom. The wisdom is important, and we're going to see the importance of it, but also how are we applying the moral aspect of it. Especially, all of us have vices. All of us have passions. And as Kardec mentions, passions are not bad inherently. They are powerful mechanisms for us to continue moving. But the issue is, or the crux is, and how are we guiding those passions? What is the direction that we're giving to those passions to do something good and not to do something evil? And I like this graph that we use in the Estudo Sistematizado da Doutrina Espírita, our study that happens on Monday. It's interesting how the intellectual part of it continues going, and will always go. We never know. Maybe there will be something even bigger than AI or technology or whatever, but it will take some time for that intellect to catch up with the moral aspect. And the moral aspect is our evolutionary goal. That's where we are all invited to target our efforts, because this evolution, AI will not go to when we disincarnate, when we pass away, when we die. Maybe there's some AI in Osolar. Maybe there's some AI in different planets there, but that's not what we'll carry with us. What our spirit will carry is the moral development, how we learned to have patience, how we learn to forgive, how we learn to be benevolent, and all those virtues that we are invited to practice. And Emmanuel continues, now that he set the stage, that we need two wings, love and wisdom, he's going to tell us what is the role of love and what is the role of wisdom. And he says, through love, which above all is service to others, the soul is illuminated and beautified from within, radiating in favor of others, the reflection of its own virtues. And through wisdom, which begins with the acquisition of knowledge, it receives the influence of the pioneers of progress, who transmit to it the reflections of their own greatness, propelling it upward. So I made a little bit of a comparison between love and wisdom. So Emmanuel is saying here that love, it's all about within. The moral, all the work that we do in the moral development, it starts within, inside. It's all the work and all the resources that each one of us have received from God, because we are sons and daughters of God. And all of us, there's no like, oh, I'm going to give a little bit more to Louise, a little bit more to Attila, a little bit less to Sonia, a little bit more to Danielle. No, everyone has the divine essence within us, and everyone has the capability of doing that development and that work. And he mentions that through love, which above all is service to others. So Emmanuel is saying here that in order for us to develop ourselves, there is this requirement for us to serve. And as I was kind of looking at Artur when he did a reflection about this text, he brought up question 912. Kardec asks the spirits, what is the most effective means of fighting the predominance of our corporeal nature? So what is the better way? What is the better mechanism for us to fight our passions? To fight the material aspect that we're always like, oh yeah, go this way, Luis, go that way. That like open the doors for our passions, open the doors for our vices. Anyone know what the Spirit said? What is the best way, the most effective way to kind of manage this material aspect that we still have in us?
Ignore.
Ignore? I don't think so. Just shove it down.
Just kidding.
To do good for others.
Yeah. In a different way, the Spirit says practicing self-denial.
Charity?
Yeah, in the sense of charity being benevolent, being indulgent, and forgiving others, right? Or in English, it says practicing self-denial, or we can translate to abnegation, right? But then I thought, man, but isn't that a little bit in contradiction? Because we say that we need to work in ourselves. The best, like I like what Alidio says, that the best project we can ever do here is to work within our own selves. But then here he's saying that we need to abnegate. We need to practice self-denial, and we need to serve. And then I said, okay, is there a contradiction? Or no? What do you think?
I don't think so. I think it all comes back to the balance aspect of it.
Yeah. What else?
Why do those two things need to be in contradiction? Why can't we develop ourselves by the very act of service?
Yeah. And one reflection that I had is the abnegation or the self-denial is not the self-denial of me being Luis and everything that Luis brings from past lives or my experience with this life. Is the abnegation of my vices. Is not, instead of me letting my passions and vices, meaning, oh, I need to achieve this status, or I need to acquire this thing, or whatever each one of us we lean towards, is instead of opening those doors, how can I divert my effort to help others? Right? How can I put that effort in, instead of working towards only fulfilling my own needs, my own material needs, how can I use that effort to serve? How can I use that effort to whatever smidge of enlightenment that I'm able to conquer in this life, how can I reflect that into others? I won't be a pure spirit in this incarnation. It might take, I don't know how many X number, but I am able to do something right now. I'm able to transport or to do something to others for whatever I'm able to accomplish in this life, in this existence.
A sessão caiu.
Caiu? Oh, there is an issue. Okay. Should I start another one? Start another one. Tá. Beleza. It was just the translation, yeah. Okay, so service to others, abnegation, and the possibility of us to radiate those virtues. And we can only radiate, we can only transmit this if we develop. And whatever we develop, we will transmit. If we develop love, we transmit love. But if we decide to develop anger or develop other things, we'll always transmit whatever we are able to produce. On the other side of it, it's important to make a little bit of difference. Wisdom is different than knowledge. Do you guys agree with that? I might have knowledge of all the books. I might have knowledge of all the gospel, everything that Chico has done, but if I'm not able to apply it, it's the first step. And I'm not saying that if we don't know what we don't know, how we're going to be able to do something. But knowledge is the first step. And we like what the Federação Espírita do Mato Grosso or the Mato Grosso Spirit Federation does is knowledge the first step, and then we need to feel it. Once we feel it, we are able to live, and we are able to practice and show that. Not show, but demonstrate and lead by example and be the example for us or for the circle that we are with it.
I think the knowledge comes first because it's easier than to develop, improve the social and humanity qualifications.
Exactly, yeah, but we need to know. It's the first step for sure, but we need to know. But then after we know it, we need to transform ourselves. That's the wisdom. When we transform our habits. And there's a chapter that we're going to talk about habits and what is the importance of changing the habits that we might be carrying on from early in our lives or even in different incarnations.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think that ties back to your earlier point about how can you work on yourself by serving others? Is that the very knowledge and then transforming that into wisdom is the wisdom is the application, right?
Yeah.
So as you apply it, and as you apply it to those around you, as you provide that service to them, you're reinforcing and developing yourself. So it becomes a virtuous cycle rather than a vicious one. So it's, I think you draw a good parallel by the slide, is that they are alongside each other, but they really come together if they're really going to, you need both wings if you're really going to fly.
Fly, exactly. And interesting enough as well, where love starts internally, wisdom, it's an external feedback, or it's an external contact that we ourselves have, because it's the interaction that we have with books, and we're going to talk about books, with all the laws, everything that's being produced. Of course, we need our will, our desire to search. Like, I want to read about Jesus. I want to read about the law of progress. I want to read about the law of love. But all the information is coming from the external environment to us. And not only it's the external environment, but it's the product of other spirits. For example, Emmanuel, doing all this work, and we are connecting to all the greatness of Emmanuel, all the knowledge and the wisdom from Emmanuel that help us with our development. Not only Emmanuel and Eloise and so many other spirits that are here. So we have those internal and external factors or forces that help us. Isn't that I think that is a very consoling, because we are always guided and we have all the help needed, internally and also externally. And that is another reflection of cooperation. As we learned, there's cooperation. We're not alone in this world. We have God, we have Jesus, but we also have all the spirits, X number of spirits that are here and helping us, providing all their wisdom and knowledge so we can absorb that and work and take whatever we need, and each one of us will need something different so we can apply in our lives. And Emmanuel says, through love we become valuable to life, and through wisdom we are valued by life. I thought that those two sentences were so profound, because with that love, with that moral aspect of us, we are valued. We have value in both sides. We are value to life, and the wisdom life is giving us everything that we need. So love, or our sense of purpose and value, are fulfilled in both aspects of life, internally and externally, by life and to life. Also, in sometimes there's a say, ignorance is a blessing. So there's this ditado popular, this saying, right? Which here in the doctrine or in the Spiritism, that's not how we don't agree with that, because we are being provided with all the tools for us to acquire the knowledge, acquire the wisdom, so we can develop our own discernment and make better decisions. Arthur mentions that sometimes when we are making decisions or choices, there is this impetus, or it's like, oh, I want to buy that house, or I want to do X, Y, and Z, and I use my definition, my material definition, that's the right thing to do. Like, I convince myself that's the right thing to do, instead of using the definition that God has given every one of us, which is in our conscience. And our conscience is what is that I should be doing that will be good for my immortal spirit, what I'm gonna carry over even when I'm discarnated, when I'm spirit, and even when I'm gonna go back and incarnate it again. So the knowledge, the wisdom, help us to develop our discernment. If we develop our discernment, we are taking responsibility. Now we are responsible. Not that we were not responsible before, but it increases the level of my responsibility to do the right thing. Because now I cannot say that I didn't know, and I cannot use ignorance to make or to give a reason for making a poor decision. And what happens when we use our discernment or the definition of doing the right thing using my material definition instead of my conscious is what Victor talked two Sundays ago. If I make that wrong decision and I don't check my conscience, I go to guilt. Every time it's like, I knew it. I shouldn't be doing that. So that feeling of guilt starts kind of be with us. And how important for us when we're faced with decisions in our lives that we use the definition of good from our conscience, from all the divine laws that are in this mechanism that is common to all the people that incarnated here. And Arthur mentioned there is a sentence from, now I didn't put her name, but I'll search it. She's a psychologist that says, those who eat from the fruit of knowledge are always expelled from some paradise. I thought that was beautiful, because if we get that knowledge, there's some sort of paradise that we were in that we now decided to move away, and we decided to go in a different direction. And there is and that gave me an idea that maybe one day I want to talk about what is the Spiritism explanation of Adam and Eve. How does the Spiritism explain that situation, and how that situation is about acquiring the knowledge, develop discernment, and making right decision, right? So knowledge expel us from the paradise of our passions, vices, and sometimes we're accommodated. Oh, it's good the way it is. I'm gonna keep doing this way. I'm gonna stay the course, right? So if we acquire that knowledge, we are now responsible to correct or adjust our conduct and create new habits. So, Emmanuel continues. So, through love, we become valuable to life. Through wisdom, we are valued by life. Hence, the imperative that intelligence and kindness walk together. So, intelligence, wisdom, intellectual, walks together with love, with moral development. So now Emmanuel will talk about what happens when those wings are a little bit unbalanced. When we only have intellectual, no moral. But also, when we only have moral, but no intellectual. So Emmanuel says, kindness that is ignorant is like a friendly well, able to quench the traveler's thirst, but unable to teach the way. Intelligence that does not love can be compared to a valuable signpost, which gives the pilgrim information on the right path, but cannot nourish the soul of the pilgrim who is passing by. So how to understand that? Arthur uses an example. Bruno, inspired by you, I'm using all AI generated images. Using the intellectual purpose. So let's imagine that we are in the desert. Desert is dry, right? But let's say that we find a well, um poço, and we're thirsty. If we just drink that water, are we out of the desert? Just by drinking water? No. But we need the water, otherwise we're gonna faint because we are too thirsty. That is a requirement from our body to continue progressing. So that is love without the intelligence. I'm just giving water. Here's water, but I'm just circling around and never being able to leave the desert. I'm not pointing myself or pointing to the direction. How do I live this desert? That is love, but no guidance, no intellect, no pointing to the direction. The same way, if I say, yeah, go that way, but I'm almost dying. I need to drink something. But go that way. Just go. But I cannot move. I'm just pointing the direction how to leave the desert, but I'm not nourishing. I'm not giving the strength. I'm not giving a way for you to leave the desert. So that is intelligence without love. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I found that kind of analogy very easy to understand how those two go together. And Arthur goes even beyond. How does that reflect into Spiritism? Especially for us here that are part of a center, that are part of SS. Any guesses? How do love and wisdom need to be together when we are here in this place, or within the doctrine, within the Spiritist movement? How does, any guesses, how we need to balance intellect with moral in the Spiritist movement when we're welcoming people here in the center, in this house? I find that when he used that, it was very easy, simple, but very important for us. Any guesses? No? So-
Acknowledging that we're not perfect, and that we're vulnerable, we're all here to learn
Yeah.
and come together and
That's along those ways. So let's imagine that a lot of people come here, and a lot of people that join FSS or any spirit center, they come with their life, right? They come with their struggles, with their pains. So when someone comes with pain or suffering, can you say, yeah, read the gospel? Well, the gospel has all the answers to your struggles and your pain. Is that a way to go? No. Because that person needs to be consoled. That person needs to feel the love first. That person needs to matar a sede. That person needs to have that glass of water, right? We need to demonstrate, we're invited to demonstrate that compassion or that welcoming, and show how the doctrine, how the Spiritist doctrine can console that person. But also, we cannot only say, yeah, it's hard, without telling, here is the direction, right? Here is what the Spirit has been guiding us what to do. So those two ways, those two aspects are important. We cannot just say, yeah, go read the gospel, go read Chico, read Boa Nova, good news, without giving that water. But also, we cannot just say, yeah, it's hard, life is difficult, and not showing the path, not showing the direction. And I remind in one of our meetings on Thursday, there was a passage when we are receiving a spirit, it's important that we show compassion. It's important that we console, but we need to be careful of not being chronicle consoling. We are just showing empathy and not telling that spirit where should that spirit be focusing on. What is the direction that Jesus has provided us? So I found that analogy for us in the Spiritist movement very important. Both those two wings need to be part in all the activities of a center of Spiritism. Show the direction, but also show the love. Show the love, but also show the direction. They need to go hand in hand. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yep. So, Emmanuel continues. We all need both instruction and love. They are necessary. The two cannot go alone. To study and to serve are inevitable path in the work of elevation. So, we need to educate ourselves. It is a requirement, because if we don't get that knowledge, if we don't know what we don't know, how we're going to transform? How we're going to make something different? How we're going to change new habits? But at the same time, we need to be kind to ourselves. I know that sometimes we talk a lot about serving and helping others, but also with ourselves. It starts with ourselves. If we made something or took a different direction or make a wrong decision, it's important to show self-love and to be gentle with our own selves. Otherwise, how we're going to be gentle with others? But it's important for us to instruct and to know and to acquire that knowledge. Emmanuel continues, all intellectual culture is formed in a chain of gradual expansion. Civilizations succeed one another continuously under the influence of mental inheritance. So isn't this like this, what Emmanuel is saying here, like we incarnated, we are in this life, but we came from many other lives. There is a lot of evolution that keeps happening. What was 2,000 years ago, it is changed now, 2025 years ago. So this progress never ceased. The progress continued. We were there, all of us, we were in some part of the past, and we continue progressing. So this gradual expansion and this mental inheritance, we developed our thoughts, we developed our moral. We did something right. We may have done something that was not good, so that's why we're here. But we are here to continue to progress. We're not going backwards. We can park, we can stand still, that's a choice. We can all of us can make, but we're not going backwards. Our invitation that we continue going forward. Art, whether in words of music, sculpture, or painting, evolves and refines itself to the resonance expressed in the works of those who cultivated beauty inspired by one another. How many artists or researchers or musicians, they're all inspired by others. Like I inspired by one singer, or I inspired by another artist, and then I evolved or I transformed. I created my own version of other inspiration. We inspired ourselves on others, being friends or being other role models or family, and then we transform ourselves and create something new that works for us. The school is a center of spiritual induction, where today's teachers continues the work of yesterday's instructor. And here was a call for me, and I don't know, it might be for you as well. So Emmanuel starts talking about school, the center of spiritual induction. We have our teachers, and then Emmanuel goes to talk about books. Simple thing. The book is a powerful magnet of attractive force, shaping the emotions and conceptions from which emerge the great movements of humanity. in all sectors of religion and science, opinion and technique, thought and labor. So Emmanuel make a case here of how important it is for us to be connected with all the knowledge that is gathered in one single book. When we read, Chico, whatever author, we are connecting to the thought of that author and that spirit. Emmanuel is saying here there is a magnet, and that magnet shape our emotions. Isn't that powerful? So if you're struggling with whatever reason, reading a book is a start to start shaping something different in our minds. It starts the healing. And everything, not only talking about Spiritism, but all the progress of humanity. Book is that condensed body of knowledge that help all of us in transforming ourselves. Again, we have books physical, we have books digital, but still, the book is that part for us to connect to something bigger, to connecting to something that can heal us. And in today's world, is it hard to get a book? No, it's pretty easy in cell phones, computers. So here is such a valuable source for us to improve ourselves that is at the hands and the disposal of every single one of us. Emmanuel continues saying that through this dynamo of creative energy, the books is a creative energy that we can leverage for our own selves. We find the most advanced service of telementalization. Emmanuel here is kind of elevating the concept of book for me into a different level, because we can connect mentally in our thoughts to whomever wrote it, that book. For across vast distance in space and time, it doesn't matter if it was written 2,000, 1,500 years ago. It never dies. And there's no space and time constraints with that body of knowledge. We incorporate the ideas of superior spirits who passed through our world centuries ago. So Arthur, when he talks about book, he brought a definition of book from a priest called Antônio Vieira. So that priest defines book: a mute that speaks, mudo que fala; a deaf that replies, surdo que responde; a blind that guides, cego que guia; a dead that lives, morto que vive. I thought that was in all aspects, shapes or form, the book has an impact of us. And it's a meaning for us to connect with minds. But at the same time, it's important for us to use discernment. There's a lot of books out there, and not all of them might guide us into the right direction. So a call here for us to use the discernment and reflect in which books that we are reading, right? At the same time, Arthur was giving like some statistics. He was using statistics from Brazil, that the population in Brazil read one book a year. I said, oh my God, I'm reading maybe 2, so I'm not doing good. So there was a call for me at least to read more, right? And I was talking to Sonia before, not only read more, it's not only about quantity, but how are we reflecting into the books that we're reading, right? Maybe we're reading one book, but we are really dissecting that book and using that knowledge to transform that into wisdom and apply into our own lives. So important for us to use our judgment, or not judgment, our discernment to really be selective and be strategic in the books that we read. And there's also the book of books. What is the book of books?
The Bible.
The Bible, the gospel, exactly. Jesus, we can connect to Jesus by the book, So through books, through the gospel, is when we interact with Jesus' mind. In such a simple way, right? So I think we call for us is, we have the resources. We have the mechanisms that if we, one-off, right? It's one-off, the mechanisms for us to connect. For us, if we need healing, if we need guidance, we can connect to brilliant minds, as we're connecting right now with this book, Thought and Life, and so many others that we have at our disposal. And towards the end, Socrates is reflected in the pages of the disciples who shared in his intimacy. And even today, we consume the lofty thoughts he once conveyed. Jesus is portrayed in the books of the apostles who extended his work. And in the gospel, we have a clear mirror, a clear one, mirror where the master is reproduced through divine reflection, guiding human conduct toward the building of God's kingdom among humankind. To know is to sponsor our own liberation. Look at that. We are taking accountability of our own involvement, our own liberation, and all some of the paradise that we decided to leave. We're taking accountability, responsibility, and sponsoring our own selves to leave that whatever thing that is not working to a better place. Putting us on the path to new horizons in life. It is therefore our duty to study ours. It is our duty to study ours, choosing the best so that our ideas and examples may reflect the ideas and examples of the champions of light. That's it. That's what I have for today, and the importance of those two wings, and the importance of instructing, the importance of guiding of connecting to the book, and the importance of applying those wings, both intellect and love, always going together. Any thoughts? Anything to add? I talked a lot.
I have one.
Yeah.
It's very nice the point you said about reflecting. So for every action we do in our life, before we get conclude, everything starts in our mind first.
Yes.
So that's what you said. We have to be able to keep reflecting our thoughts before it gets concluded, because we can hurt people, can hurt ourselves. So we have our own free will.
Yeah. Yes. Everything starts in our mind first. Whatever happens after, but it starts here. Yeah, absolutely.
That was a very profound message, and specifically regarding the ability for us to connect through the written word.
Yeah.
And something I've increasingly started reflecting on myself is just, when these books have been around for thousands of years, really, yet more recently, with the advent of technology, going back to what you were talking about, how we've developed our intellect way quicker, we've extended the sources of knowledge exponentially. I mean, the book is still there, but nowadays, and you can get them, like you said, in a number of different mediums on your phones. But in addition to that, I mean, any of us who have a phone know the sources of potential information are almost limitless in the sense of you can access podcasts now, you can access shows even. Realistically, you can even access your social media feed, although that one is a particularly tricky one. However, but the logic holds sound is what you were saying, even regarding books. You know, there are different calibers of text, but there are just like that different calibers of, you know, podcasts, videos, of things we might watch, shows, and even information we may come across on feeds. And it's and it always makes me think about the fact there's an incentive to just give in to almost like mindless digestion of whatever it may be, as people like to say, to find an escape. But we have the choice at any given moment to take that very activity that we would engage in any way and focus it however we want, just like we would with literary or written words. So I think it just demonstrates how much, you know, God in endless sublime, you know, insight created the opportunity for us to just explode the amount of information that we can digest, and to really have no point in time anymore that we can't take good information whenever we wanted to, in any form. It's just a matter of choosing at any given time, like you said, that discernment. And I think there's, you know, I think there's something very, how should I put it, gracious with that.
Emmanuel says that we are living in a market of ideas. It's up to us to use the discernment which ideas we would like to buy in that market. It's like when you tune, right? Your radio or whatever music you want to put in your playlist to be more modern. It's up to our decision. Which ones? They're all there. Which ones we would like? Which ones help with our progress and which ones doesn't?
So Luis, I like, you know the picture you put on the board with the wings?
Yep.
So can you just do it? Yeah. So my perception of view, what I can see there. So you see the two wings, no?
Yeah.
Love and wisdom. And then you have ourself in the middle.
Yeah.
So I can see. So love, wisdom, and strength. Because you need like a strength to be able to keep balance. So we have to work on ourselves and the strength. Because if you don't have the kind of strength, you won't be able to keep balance.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my point of view.
And the wisdom Arthur mentions, and we kind of talk about this here. The wisdom is we develop in this horizontal of our life, right? Is that knowledge, what we're doing here in this earth. Our love and moral, it's kind of what is the vertical of our life. What do we carry beyond Louise incarnated here in this planet? What we carry throughout our existence. It doesn't matter if I'm incarnated or not, it's within my own spirit. All right, time? Yes, thank you very much. And yeah, let's go to our prayer. All right, so connected as we are with our guardian angels, God, Jesus, all the spiritual team that are here with us. Let's be grateful once again for this opportunity that we had to learn more about those two wings, those two forces that are required for each one of us to progress and to reach our evolutionary goal. That is love and wisdom. May we be guided. May we receive all the intuition and help and support so that we can balance those wings, so that we can find the strength, find the courage to continue our study, to continue acquiring the knowledge and making the efforts, applying it in our lives to transform that into wisdom. Always applying that love, wing, and lens so that we can achieve our goals and we can transform ourselves. May we have another week of blessings, another week, plenty of opportunities for us to transform, to learn, to practice our virtues, and that all the situations in our lives, we can balance those two wings to conquer and to achieve those goals. May we have a rest of our Sunday and week full of love, serenity, and peace. So be it.
The airline.
The airline, they're good. They're learning.
Airline.